Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Jared, and this is my channel where I talk about all things personal finance to hopefully help you on your way towards financial freedom. So in my first video in this series, I talked about knowing your expenses, knowing where your money's going, and how that is the most important step to getting everything under control. And I say all of this coming from a place of being a single dad who's divorced, who at one point filed, like I had everything going great for me early on. I had a house, I had my degrees, got married, ended up having to file bankruptcy, went through a divorce. Now I'm a single dad, sharing custody, paying child support, doing all that kind of stuff, living in California, have two amazing kids. And I was able to recover and pay off my credit card debt, move into a beautiful house in Los Angeles, save money, have all these things kind of going for me. And I just want to share my journey with whoever it might benefit. So in this series, the first video I posted was talking about knowing where expenses are going, knowing your expenses. Because if you don't know where your money is going, you're totally defeated. So in this video, we are going to talk about, after you know your expenses, establishing a budget. And similar to this video, last video, and the next few videos are all probably going to stay connected to this topic. But similar to knowing your expenses, there's an emotional reaction that comes with, digging into your debts, digging into your money, having to think about all that and deal with it, and deal with maybe potentially not having enough. And that's painful at times. So when it comes to doing a budget, the next thing is, as you're looking at all of your expenses, your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, you want to do this you want to build a monthly budget, right? And kind of lump everything into a few categories. You're going to have your housing, your utilities, your car payment, everything that goes into your car, like your car insurance and gas or EV charging or whatever you have. Next, you're going to have your food costs. So housing, potentially a car, if you have to drive to work. And then your food costs, those are all pretty much like non-negotiables, right? You have to live somewhere. So we'll get into how you spend on it in a minute, but you'll probably have a cost for housing, likely, because you have to live somewhere. You have to get to work to make the money to pay the bills, so you'll probably have to have a car. And then food, you have to have food and water to survive, right? So those are costs that are relatively fixed that you're gonna have pretty much month to month. So everything that isn't directly connected to those three is quasi-negotiable, right? Obviously, taxes aren't. If you have student loans, those really aren't, because those rarely go away. And then if you have something like, child support, alimony that's court ordered, again, that's not going to go anywhere. But everything else potentially could go away. You don't have to have a cell phone. It's super inconvenient to not have a cell phone, but you could, in theory, still go to work, still eat, drink, and have a roof over your head and not have a cell phone, right? So that's just kind of the lens that we'll start examining all these expenses. So at first, you're gonna have a lot of expenses that you can outright probably just cut. Like maybe it's shopping. Maybe you don't think you're doing a lot of shopping, but you're still doing some shopping. Maybe you're going out a lot to the movies, to events, to the local bar, whatever it is, you could cut that. Next is your food expenses. So you have to spend on food, but you don't have to necessarily go out to eat. So eating at home will always be cheaper. I didn't say eating healthy, because there's that whole debate of like, is eating healthy cheap? But eating at home will 99% of the time be cheaper than eating out. And that's just the nature of it, right? The nature of economics, because when you go out to eat, they have to cover the labor and all that kind of stuff. So when you build out this budget on a monthly basis, the first thing is to identify the very clear, easy to cut items. So for me, what I would say fits this category, examples of this would be Streaming services. If you have multiple streaming services, you don't need them all. I'm not going to be like some of these financial gurus and tell you that you have to get rid of all of them. There's one that I heard is like, get rid of Netflix. If you don't have all your bills paid, you don't have time to be watching Netflix. Look, if watching an hour of Netflix here or there is going to save your life and keep you from, doing something drastic, then watch an hour of Netflix. If that helps you get by doing all the other hard things that you're going to have to do. So I'm not saying get rid of all of your streaming services, but what I would tell you is that most people, especially if you have kids, you're going to have multiple. So I would get rid of cable if you still happen to be someone who has cable. In between Netflix, Amazon, Apple, pick one. Just pick one. So if you feel like you need to keep Amazon Prime, then you have Amazon TV included. You could pair that with Tubi. You got some stuff to watch. You got YouTube. Anything above and beyond that, if you really, really, really want to watch something, you can probably pay a one-time fee and watch it, right? Okay, so streaming services are a great candidate to get cut. Next would be storage. A lot of people have mini storages. I had one recently. I was paying in Southern California, I was paying like $190 a month for basically what was like a 10 by 10 storage unit. So, I decided that I had to go. So, whether it was getting rid of most of that or bringing most of that into where I'm living, it's got to be one of the two because I need to be saving that money. So, right there, just between getting rid of streaming services, getting rid of a storage unit, you're already at about, with the prices that I was paying, say it's $180 for the storage unit, and then say you have 3 or 4 streaming services, so you're paying $12 a month for Disney and you're paying $10 a month or whatever for HBO. I mean, you're already over $200 right there just in sheer cuts. And then if you can manage to avoid going out to eat as much, there's probably at least another $100 there that you could save easily. So that's $300 a month that you've put back into your pocket. And what's always interesting when you're doing your budget and you're talking about saving money is that when you talk about money saved, there's always a saying like, penny saved is penny earned. Well, when you save that money, it really, in a way, feels like more because when you earn on your W-2 job, you're only bringing home, anywhere from potentially like, 70 to 80% of that, right? For a typical like middle class earner between state and federal taxes. So you're paying taxes off the top of whatever you earn. But if you can avoid spending some of that hard take-home pay, it's almost as if you're getting more because if you fictitiously added those taxes back onto what you saved, you would have more money. So go through, look at all the things that you don't have to have. And then the next thing, and I'll wrap this, but the next thing is basically after you've eliminated the unnecessary items, start looking at items that you can do that could swap, right? Could replace. So I'll give you a perfect example. So cell phone coverage. For the longest time in North Carolina, way back in the day, you had Alltel. Alltel got bought out by Verizon. I had Verizon for like the longest time. Came to California, switched to AT&T. I've had both. And both times I was paying roughly like $100 or more a month between the plans and the device payments and just everything. So just paying so much money for a cell phone. So then I kept seeing these ads for Mint Mobile, right? And hey, we use the T-Mobile network. It's prepaid, blah, 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 blah. And it's only like introductory rates are like $15 or $20 a month. Well, I was penny pinching so hard that I was like, you know what? Let me check this out. So what I did was I got some extra money because the way Mint Mobile typically works is, you want to have a phone that's paid for, but they do have, I think they might have some payment plans now on their website for devices, but you want to have a phone that's paid for, and then essentially you're just paying them for the data or the cellular usage. So I went from paying $100 roughly a month to Verizon for the luxury of saying I have the best cell phone provider to paying about $20 ish for unlimited data, unlimited talk, unlimited text, and everything with Mint Mobile. And I've never had issues with it, to be honest, ever. Um, and that's not just an LA thing. That's, in North Carolina when I've gone to visit family. So pretty much Mint Mobile, and this, I'm not getting paid by Mint Mobile. I use Mint Mobile. So Mint Mobile is basically anywhere that T-Mobile would work, they partner up with that carrier's network, right? I have a Verizon work phone and I carry both of them on me most of the time. And I've never once hardly had a situation where um, the Verizon phone was working amazing and the Mint Mobile phone wasn't. The only thing I would say about Mint Mobile is when you have Verizon and AT&T, sometimes those providers you can pay more so that if you're at a concert or you're at a sporting event and there's a lot of people, you get prioritized. So that's the only time I've seen my service get degraded is if I'm like at a huge like county fair or something with a ton of people. But I went to South America last year. I had Mint Mobile. I paid in advance with Mint Mobile for their international data plan. It was very cheap. And my friends who had Verizon and AT&T, their phones were hardly working, and mine was working like a champ. My data and my everything was working like a champ. So I have a phone plan for my son and myself through Mint Mobile, and for both of them, I'm paying less than $50 a month for two phones, where I was paying $100 a month through Verizon. So let's just take that again. So I'm saving you on a storage unit. I'm saving you on streaming services. Now you're saving on your cell phone. Another thing is going to be your grocery items. So I highly encourage you going to Costco. If you have a Costco near you, you're going to save in a variety of ways. Costco membership, if you have a gas vehicle, it's going to be the cheapest place to get gas. Next, if you got kids, you want to take them out for some fast food once in a while. Costco has some solid food for crazy cheap prices. Everybody knows this. But then a lot of like your everyday items at Costco that you're gonna go through are significantly cheaper. So for instance, like your toilet paper, your toothpaste, but I'll even give you one better than that. So my kids and I, we like these protein bars that are called Perfect Bars. And Costco currently sells like 12 for $20. And if you go to Target or you go to any of these other retailers, you get a box of 4 for like $10. So by buying a box of 12 for 20, I'm saving an extra, essentially, like I'm getting for $20, I'm getting 4 more bars, or what you could say, I'm getting for $20 what would cost me $30 if I bought the same amount of bars at some of these other grocery stores. So anyway, we're at over 13 minutes. Thank you for staying to this point. My channel isn't monetized. I'm just here to share what's worked for me and hopefully help some people along the way, maybe build an audience. If you haven't done so yet and you're interested, I do have a link in the description for Acorns. I'm personally using Acorns. I've linked it to my bank's, my debit account, my checking account. And every time I buy something with my debit card, it will round up whatever the difference is to the nearest dollar and then put that in an investment account. So here, coming soon in one of these next videos, we're going to talk about assets and liabilities. So just trying to help put your money to work for you at all times. So in my Acorns account, I have like over $1,000 just from roundups, and I'm letting that build for something special in a few years. So if you're interested, check out their content. I would be honored if you use my link. You get signed up and it gives me a small kickback. And outside of that, I hope you like and subscribe, put a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one.